Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I'm Morgan, and today I am talking about how to get your witchy groove back, because I think this is something that I know I'm feeling right now. And I definitely wanted to talk about it and pass on some of my tips and tricks on beating the witchy blahs. Like when you just don't feel like practicing or doing anything spiritual or witchy or anything. So the spooky season is close. The season of the witch is close. And fun fact, the season of the witch is an actual season. It starts at Mabon and it lasts until the Great Hunt, which is the Norse Great Hunt, which happens to be around Yule. We've been doing lots of witchy research here at Ink Goddess Creations, and that is one of the fun things that has popped up. So there actually is, you hear Season of the Witch, but there actually is a Season of the Witch, and it starts around Mabon and goes till about Yule. So yeah, so very close. But if you are exhausted, because 2024, yeah, that's 2024 is a sound. There's not a word. So if you are exhausted just in general, or you're just like, oh my God, it is so close. Where did this year go? How do I even get into the witchy vibes? I'm not feeling it. And next month is October. Like, where the hell did time go? If you're feeling any of this, you are not alone, okay? I am sure that some of you noticed I took last week off. We do a lot of prep in August and September, especially September though, for October, because our busy season starts in October. And so October, November, December is technically our busy season. And then actually we go straight into the gem show in January. So August is very chaotic. Into September tends to be a little chaotic, and time management is not the best for me. But also I decided to take about a week off from everything. And when I say that, I still came to work. I still did my job. It was mostly when I got home, I just kind of checked out mentally for about a week, dealing with reality shit and everything. So there was no podcast episode last week because I just wasn't feeling witchy. I mean, that was another thing. I was burned out, a little overworked, and I was like, there's no way. I mean, shit, just a couple of weeks ago, I did a podcast episode where I even said at the end, I was like, oh my God, I have a splitting headache, and I'm a bit snarky today. I think it was the Mercury retrograde one. So that's just been my vibe lately. And I was like, all right, let's take a week off. So if you are feeling any of this, then you are not alone. Okay. Which is why I think this episode is probably pretty on spot for a lot of you. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is dive into six to seven reasons or things you can do to flip your witchy vibe switch back on. And I say 6 to 7. You'll see when we get there. All right. And for those listening too, by the way, this is recorded for YouTube. So if you want to see all of my fun facial expressions, you can watch this on YouTube. Yeah. And if you're on YouTube, I hope that you're laughing at my funny facial expressions, because it's part of who I am too. All right. So the first thing to keep in mind, and this is like my first tip, but it's also the main thing to keep in mind, is if you are in a witchy funk, feel the funk. You have to feel the funk. I am not about spiritual bypassing here, which is just like, oh, fake it till you make it, Or, oh, just go through the motions of lighting a candle and performing a spell, and eventually the witchy vibes will just come. You don't need to figure out why you're in a witchy funk. Just push through it. Don't do that. If you hear any of that shit, that's called spiritual bypassing, and I'm not about it. I'm going to tell you, sit in the shit. Sit in the funk. Okay? The only way to get out of the funk is to figure out how you got into the funk. Okay? If you just try to pull yourself out of the funk, what's going to happen from that point forward is you're still going to be in a funk, but now you're in denial that you're in a funk, and you're performing magic from a place of denial that you're in a funk when you're really in a funk. That is icky, and whatever spell or intention you try to set or whatever is going to, it could possibly blow up. Like, seriously. So I'm going to tell you, you sit in the funk, okay? And while you're sitting in the funk, the first thing you have to do is give yourself compassion, okay? Because generally speaking, when we're in a funk, and look, this advice applies to regular life too, not just to witchy life, okay? If you are in a funk, the best thing to do is just sit in it for a little while, marinate, and then ask yourself questions while you're sitting in it. First, you're going to have to feel the emotions, okay? If you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like screaming, scream. If you feel like punching something, maybe aim towards a pillow, so you don't hurt yourself or anyone else around you. But you have to figure out how you got there or why you're still in it, okay? So you sit in it and then you ask yourself questions. For example, does my spiritual practice bring me joy? Maybe you're in a funk and you don't feel like doing anything witchy because the shit you've been doing no longer makes you happy, okay? What about my practice brings me joy? So you do want to focus on, okay, when I do this, when I do my daily card pull in the morning, I feel witchy as hell. I do miss doing that. Or when I light a candle, when I light incense, when I sit in meditation for just 5 minutes, I feel really good about myself. Let me at least start with that. Okay, so then focus on what does bring you joy. Other questions you can ask yourself: what feels like an obligation? That's a big one. Like, are you pulling a candle? Are you pulling a card every day because you've done it for years and now you're like, well, it's time for me to go pull another card for today. Let me go do it. You've lost the passion for it, but you're still doing it out of an obligation to yourself or an obligation to your spiritual practice. And then, what do I want to change or try new? Okay. So you can ask yourself a ton more questions. How did I get here? How long have I been in this funk? How long have I not been practicing? But exploring the funk, seeing what got you there, and then explore different things to help try and get you out, to help try and light that witchy fire within you again, which is where the, what about my practice brings me joy, and what do I want to try, or what do I want to change? Maybe there's something, maybe you finally are just like, you know what, I'm done with fucking pulling cards every morning. I don't want to do it anymore. All right. So that's the first thing, is sit in the funk. And while you're in the funk, ask yourself questions to get to the root cause of it. Because then once you get to the root cause, you can expose it to the light. That's what shadow working is. And you can start to fix it. You can start to remedy it. If you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it. So pushing through is just going to feel inauthentic and then make you feel like a poser witch or an imposter witch or whatever, because you're not feeling it. And magic and witchcraft is all about feeling an emotion. Okay. So the second thing is revamp, rearrange, add something new, treat yourself, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you a non-witchy story, but I promise you it relates. Okay. So about a month ago, I guess, I was done. We would work all day, and then I would come home and I couldn't even relax at night. My sleep was shit. I wasn't in a great place. Okay. I was in a funk. And I realized that Colin and I were watching a lot of like home improvement shows or like House Hunters International. So I was really engaging in escapism. Okay. And escapism is scrolling on your phone at night for hours. Okay. Doom scrolling. You are trying to escape your current reality in a way that is a little bit more fulfilling instead of dealing with what's wrong with your current reality to where you feel like you have to escape it. Okay. So I was sitting there one night, Colin was like, all right, we have to clean this weekend. And I was like, I don't want to clean. He's like, we need a deep clean. And so I was looking at our house, right? And for years, I have wanted to move. The living room is in the front part of our house, right when you walk in the front door. And it's like living room, dining room. And then there's like a wall, and it's like kitchen, and then this other room that has a fireplace. So I guess it would be like a bonus room, den, whatever you want to call it. I've always wanted that room to be our living room, because then it's like an open concept kitchen into this room. I've always wanted it, but we have never done it because in the front room, which is our living room, it was the previous owners had wired it for surround sound. So we have never thought to move the living room into this big room. And I realized, I was like, I don't even like watching movies in this room anymore. I don't like relaxing. I don't like anything. I'm in a funk. Meh. So Colin's like, all right, well, how do you want to get out of the funk? And I was like, I want to switch the living room with, we called it our game room, which it literally just had a table in it and a locker full of board games. But we don't really play board games anymore since my daughter moved out and got married. And my son's almost 20 and works all the time. So we don't play a lot of board games anymore. So essentially we have this wasted room that's in the middle of our house next to the kitchen. And there's even times when like Colin and I will be watching something in the living room, and then he'll get up to go to the kitchen to get something, and you miss something on TV because it's like two rooms away. So I said, I want to switch the two. And he's like, do you understand what you're asking? And I'm like, I do. Y'all, it's still not done. It's still not done because we switched the rooms and we piled a lot of stuff onto our dining room table, and the dining room table is still covered in shit. But for the most part, the rooms are switched. And it took probably a full 24 hours of work to switch the two rooms, switch them, deep clean them, all that kind of stuff. But now the living room is the favorite room of the house. The living room kitchen area. If you want a snack during a movie, we don't need to hit pause. You just get up and go to the fridge. My son and his girlfriend actually stay out there and watch TV instead of going off to watch TV somewhere else. It has become the family's favorite room. And all we did was just swap the two rooms. Okay? That's all we did. I love it. I can relax in there. I enjoy being in that room. It is just amazing. So long story, I know, but it does apply. I was in a funk. We swapped the two rooms in our house, and now when I get home from work, I can 100% relax. That is my space. It's a new space. It's fun. It's more functional. It makes more sense for my family. All of these things mean that I am now enjoying watching a movie, watching a TV show, having dinner. I enjoy all of that now because of this new space that I created just by swapping two rooms. So the same philosophy can be applied to your witchcraft practice, okay? Take your altar down. Clean everything. Clean it before you cleanse. Clean everything and then cleanse it and then put it back. I mean, maybe you want to revamp your altar. Maybe this statue doesn't really fit you anymore. You want to get something new, put it on your altar. Maybe if you happen to have a room where you can practice, rearrange the room. God, nothing breathes new life into a space than rearranging it. Yeah, in life, in witchy stuff, all of it. If money is tight, then do what I did. Walk around your house and see what can be changed. See if you can steal a little candle holder from the living room, or, swap out this chair for that chair and get a new chair in your sacred space. So you don't even have to spend money in order to do this. You can just look around your house and say, okay, what can I put into my sacred space, and what needs to come out of my sacred space, or what needs to come off of my altar? Get a new tarot deck. Treat yourself. Get a new tarot deck. a new pendulum, a new altar cloth, something that makes you be like, yeah, okay, I'm at least going to play with this tarot deck for a little while, and it relights that inner fire for you. Okay, so that's my second tip: revamp or rearrange or add something new or treat yourself to something new. Okay, my third tip is another shadow working one. It is take an honest look at your practice itself. Okay, maybe you're not the same witch you used to be. And this can definitely be done in conjunction with the first tip, which is sitting in the funk. So while you're sitting there in the funk, you can also ask yourself these questions, okay? But you want to be honest with yourself about the answers. Are you still the same witch, or are you fighting change? Okay, and this was a big one for me. I have done an entire podcast episode on how I used to be a love and light witch, and I made the switch over to being a gray witch. This was not an easy thing for me to do. It was not like one day I woke up and I was like, I'm a gray witch now, let me go put some bitches in my backyard in jars. That didn't happen. I struggled for a very long time. I don't know exactly how long, but for me it felt like eternity. During that period of struggle, my witchcraft practice was non-existent. Okay, I was so far in the funk that I didn't know if I would, it wasn't that I was questioning whether or not I wanted to be a witch. I know I'm a witch, and I know I wanted to practice witchcraft. But here it was, for so long I had been a love and light witch, and I tried to strive for, even if someone's hurting me, send them love and light. And here it was, this thing was growing inside of me that was like, no, fuck them. Put the bitch in a jar in my backyard. And I wrestled with this. I was like, no, you go away. Stop. You don't come up. You're evil. Go away. And I kept trying to push that side of me down. There was a full-on struggle within my mind, my body, my soul into making this thing, because I had so much shame and guilt over it. Okay? And it wasn't until I finally released the shame, released the guilt, and said, I'm going to fucking do what feels right to me for my practice. That's when I was able to make the switch from love and light witch over to gray witch. So a lot of stagnancy in your practice, if you all of a sudden just don't feel like practicing anymore, are you wrestling with something deeper? Are you wanting to maybe completely change your practice, but you've been this type of witch for so long? Or if you're here and you're listening and you're curious and you're a Christian and you're like, I don't know, am I really a witch? You're going to have a lot of that struggle, and you're going to have a lot of that shame and that guilt that you have to work through to be like, this is me, this is who I am, and this is how I want to practice my magic, and this is how I want to empower myself, and this is how I want to embrace and love myself. Okay, so you're gonna have to get honest with yourself. Release shame, release guilt of what you feel like you should be doing or how you should be practicing. And for those who are listening to this and not seeing it on YouTube, I'm using the bunny quotation marks in the air, because that you should not be doing anything. You should be doing what you want to do in your practice and what makes you feel alive. Okay, so if you could have the practice that you have always dreamed of, like, oh my God, like dive down inside yourself and be like, okay, so between me and myself, and I'm not going to let anyone know this, I really, really, really want to put people in jars in my backyard. Oh my God, that would be so cool. Okay. That's how it started for me. You have to acknowledge that first. You have to be like, okay, all right, so maybe I don't want to be a love and light witch anymore. Maybe I want to do this. Maybe I want to practice sex magic. You have to dig down. You have to get down in there and be like, what makes me feel happy? What makes me feel a little naughty? What makes me feel alive? Okay? And maybe it's something drastically different than anything you've ever known, and change is scary, okay? But you've got to look at it. And maybe once you dig down in there and you find these little things like, oh my God, maybe I do want to practice some sex magic. Oh my God, maybe I'm a chaos witch. Oh my God. then you all of a sudden are like, woo, oh, is that a witchy fire lit in within me? Oh my God. Oh my God, am I gonna, oh, I feel that a lot. I'm gonna go do some shit right now. This is what I feel. I feel like I'm gonna go do it right now. And that might be the thing that changes you. Okay. Number 4, create a witchy atmosphere internally as well as externally. Okay. So for me, music is a huge mood changer for me. I have different playlists for different personalities, I guess. They're all a part of me. But I think I've even talked before about, I know I've done a similar podcast episode to this, but I know it's not the same in the back. And I don't know in the past, I don't know if it was the frustration one or witchy burnout. I can't remember which one it is. I've done something similar, but at least I know in a couple of podcast episodes, I have talked about music and how much of a game changer music is for me. So like I have my getting shit done playlist at work. I have my boss bitch playlist for work. I have just my, I can kind of get shit done today playlist. I have a workout playlist. I have one now that's called Worshipped. It's my sexy playlist for when I want to embrace my divine feminine. I have playlists for just about everything. Okay. I have witchy vibe playlists or ones that I will listen to. So that is a huge mood changer for me. Music can uplift you. It can help you release emotion. It can help motivate you. So I personally highly tap into music for everything. Okay. For me, incense is a huge atmosphere changer. It is very nostalgic for me. Incense reminds me of my brick and mortar store that I ran 20 years ago. Was it 2024? So yeah, a little less than 20 years ago. I lit incense. I had a ritual, every morning when I would open up the shop, and it involved incense and candles and all that kind of stuff. So for me, incense is very nostalgic. It makes me feel witchy immediately. So the combination, if I were to pair witchy music, which creates an internal shift within me, and incense, which creates an external shift in my environment, if I pair the two of those together, you have witchy vibes on. Okay, that is my personal recipe. Your personal recipe might be different, okay? But you've got to find those little things. You've got to find the things that internally shift you into a witchy state, but then around you, you feel like you're in a witchy place. And use those to create your witchy atmosphere. Okay, I do have a little caveat for this one. Podcasts can definitely help. Like this one. Yeah. Like if you're feeling inspired and if at the end of this, you're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to go do some witchy shit, then the podcast did its job. YouTube videos can also help, but here's the thing. Don't compare yourself to other people. So if you're going to get on YouTube or social media or Pinterest or whatever, looking for inspiration to try and help motivate you in your practice, if you are likely to fall victim to comparison, like, oh my God, that altar is so beautiful. My altar will never look like that. Fuck this. I'm going back to bed. Then don't do this part of it. Don't do that. Okay. Because you want to stay motivated. You want to stay uplifting. You want to stay inspired. Okay. So only do things like YouTube, Pinterest, social media, or whatever, if you are the type of person that will take inspiration from it, or if it will light your fire. Okay. There are times in the business or in life when I do have low points and I will go to Pinterest for inspiration, but that's because I'm the type of person where when I'm down, I know something needs to change. So I'm looking for inspiration. I'm not looking to compare myself. I'm looking for something that's going to help me raise myself up. Okay. And that's just how I'm wired. But if you're wired the other way to where you're going to compare yourself, don't do this. All right. Because you definitely don't want to be shamed about your own practice. Okay. And social media, unfortunately, has done a wonderful job of doing that. We all feel shame when we see all these other videos or these beautiful things on Pinterest. We're like, my altar doesn't look like that. I don't do this every single day. And this person says they do. You also have to keep in mind that social media is a front. And nothing is what it seems behind the scenes of all of these gorgeous posts and videos on social media, and that's for anybody, okay? Number 5 is try something new, okay? It kind of goes with add something new, which was number 2, but this is like engaging yourself in a new practice, okay? Maybe your existing practice just needs some spice. Maybe you're tired of doing the same shit all the time, you know? What are some witchy subjects that you can dive into? So that's the first thing. And then you can, hit up YouTube, you can hit up social media, hit up whatever your avenues are for learning things. But dive into a new witchy subject. See if something inspires you. Learning something new can get you just back in those witchy patterns of behavior again, and can help light your fire onto something that maybe you want to add to your practice, or even if you just want to learn about it and then you're done learning about it, you're like, I will never do that, but I'm glad I educated myself on it because now I know. And then you can move on to the next subject, okay? Number 6, this is actually one of my favorites to do, and this is where I am currently at. Read witchy fiction or watch your favorite witchy movie or TV series, okay? Yes, witchy fiction and movies and TV shows are Hollywood. They 100% are. But your inner witch perks up a little bit when you're reading a fantasy novel or a novel about, my personal favorite genre is everyday realism. Everyday magical realism. Woo! I would get it eventually. Magical realism. So Sarah Addison Allen is by far my favorite author, okay? I am really enjoying some books right now. Jessica Dodge has 2 out. I believe one's called Accidental Magic, and the other one is called something with the word magic in it. I haven't read that one yet. But if you go to like Goodreads or Amazon or whatever, and you type in Sarah Addison Allen, and then you kind of look at like similar books, magical realism is a genre, and basically it's people just like me and you. We're witches, we're living life, but you have that little bit of Hollywood. So maybe there's like a fire witch in one of the books who can actually like poof, put her hands out and she can light fires in her palms of her hand, okay? And we can't do that unless you coat your hands in gasoline and light them on fire. Not recommended, okay? So it's magical realism. It's a regular everyday person just like me or you, but they're a witch, but they do have magical powers in the books, or I'm talking about books at the moment. So yeah, practical magic technically is a magical realism genre. All of Alice Hoffman books are. So that's another author for you. Witchy movies though, like every time I watch The Craft, I don't care, it's 25 years old. Every time I watch The Craft, I come out feeling witchy on the other end. It inspires me. It makes me go, hell yeah, I'm a witch. And reading witchy fiction does the same, okay? So your inner witch perks up when you engage in any kind of witchy fiction. You get that little bit of like, I know this is Hollywood, but I'm a witch. And I have the power to do things, to manipulate energy, to create, magic, and to perform magic, and to create my desires. I have the power to do all of this. So engage in a little bit of fun, some witchy fiction. Some of my favorites as far as movies, TV shows. I love The Good Witch. I'm so sorry. It's so cheesy, I know, but I love them. And this time of year, I always dive into the Good Witch movies. Charmed is a classic, the original, especially with the passing of Shannon Doherty recently. I definitely find myself watching the older episodes again, just, a little bit of witchy, a little bit of nostalgia, and a little bit of honoring Shannon. We're approaching spooky season, so Hocus Pocus is a good one. It's just fun, you know what I mean? But I did watch Mayfair Witches. It was alright. It wasn't bad. I've tried Discovery of Witches. I've tried the book. I've tried the movie, the TV show. I can't. I've tried it numerous times. I don't know what it is. I'll try it again. I'll try it again because I know a lot of you are judging me right now. But anyway, read some witchy fiction, watch your favorite witchy movie or TV show, get some inspiration. And then I said at the beginning that this episode would have 6 to 7 ways because the last one goes into how I normally end podcasts. This whole entire podcast was not a big plug because I hope the first 6 tips have really helped you. But the 7th one is a tip. It really is a good tip, but it does segue into my coven. Okay, so the 7th tip I have is surround yourself with witchy people that you respect and admire. That's the key. You can fill your news feed, your Instagram, your TikTok with witchy people that make you feel like shit because they're, doing this every single day, which they're probably not. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about surround yourself by fake witchy people or witchy people that make you feel less of a witch. Okay, don't do that. You surround yourself with witchy people who inspire you or who you admire. Okay, and it can be done on social media. It can be done in Facebook groups. It can be done locally if you happen to, have some local witchy groups that you can become a part of. And it can be done with online covens. For example, the Inked Spirit Coven, which is my online coven. It's funny. So yes, I am the magical mentor of the Inked Spirit Coven. But what's funny is so many of the members of the Inked Spirit Coven, their witchcraft practice is so much more involved than mine that they will post in our Facebook group and they will show, like, here's a card spread I did today. Here's a wand I'm making. Here's, oh my God, here's an outdoor altar I put up. And I look at them and I go, oh my God, that is so beautiful. I'm going to put an outdoor altar up. I have to have one now because they inspire me so much with the things that they post. So yes, I'm the magical mentor there, but I'm still a witch, and this is my online coven. So this is my online group of people that I get inspiration from and that I have chosen to surround myself with. So that's why surrounding yourself with other witchy people, you have people to talk to. Like when you are in a funk, like, hey guys, I'm in a funk. How do y'all get out of it? And then you get all these ideas. You see posts and they inspire you to do things, So surrounding yourself with witchy people really is an amazing tip. And of course, during this tip, I'm going to plug the Inked Spirit Coven because that is my online coven. It is an online coven, and every month I teach one class live on Zoom and I facilitate a workshop live on Zoom. And they tap into my 25 years of knowledge. And everyone comes together on Zoom, and then we have the Facebook group where they interact. There's daily discussion questions, and that's another thing. Like these daily discussion questions, okay, while yes, the members are they're talking with one another, they're getting to know one another, but these posts are also inspirational. These questions, if you do them daily, they keep you in a witchy vibe every single day just by jumping on Facebook real quick, heading to our coven group, and then being like, oh my gosh, what witchcraft practice do I want to, have I always been curious about, but I've never tried before? That's a great question. Ooh, I have an answer. And then you type it out and people comment and they like it and it sparks conversation. And it's just a way, the daily discussion questions are a great way to learn about your fellow witches, but also to learn about yourself as well. And that's something that we have in the coven as well. So for this month and the month of September, we are diving into finding your flow and developing your intuition. And then I will be teaching members how to make ritual oils at the end of the month. But in September, we started with the element of water. So we're going to be doing the element of water all through September, October, and November. And then we'll move into the element of earth for the winter. So I would love to have you join. And you can use the coupon code podcast5, all stuck together, and the number 5 to give you $5 off your first month of Inked Spirit Coven, and I would love to have you join. So that's all that I have for you all today. I hope that this episode was helpful and inspirational, hopefully. And if you are feeling in a witchy funk, you're not alone. There's some vibes out there, man. There's just some funky witchy vibes going on out there. And that's why I really hope that this was inspirational for you. And I hope that even sharing with you that even after practicing for 25 years, I still get into funks a lot. Hopefully that's helpful for you to know as well. So I want to thank you all for being here and for listening, for giving me a platform to share my knowledge and just have some fun. And I will see you all again soon. Bye.